Positive looks like a true positive. How can you ever distinguish whether it's truly a positive or a negative?
Well, that's a great question. It's going to be very hard to determine a false positive.
There's no more truth out there than there is in the world I created for you. Same lies. The same deceit.
That he's lying, he is continually imploring us to just believe him.
We are just getting started. Believe me.
Believe me.
Believe me.
Believe me.
Believe me. Believe me. Believe me.
Believe me.
Believe me. Believe me. Believe me. Believe me. Believe me. Believe me.
I think many of us in our society, our consumer society, are so distracted, so alienated, so fragmented by the whole consumption process that we are not sure if we've actually been alive.
That Donald Trump dumped a bunch of food into a koi pond when he was meeting with Shinzo Abe in Japan. They were given ceremonial little buckets with little spoons, and they both flicked their little spoons into the water, sending the food to the fish. And then, according to many outlets and journalists on Twitter, Trump grew impatient and then just dumped the entire box into the water. The only thing is, that's technically not true. What actually happened was that Shinzo Abe, the Prime Minister of Japan, was flicking his spoonfuls of koi food and then chucked the entire contents into the water, and Trump decided to follow suit.
Then there was 9/11. Within days, George W. Bush, then US President, had told his generals to plan for a possible war in Iraq.
States like these and their terrorist allies constitute an axis of evil.
The White House repeatedly tried to connect Iraq to the 9/11 attacks, though those links later proved false. Bush then hosted Prime Minister Tony Blair in Texas. Blair's critics say it was at this point he secretly agreed to go to war. He denies that. Then President Bush went before the UN to make his case for disarming Iraq by force. The British government published its own dossier saying that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction that could be ready in 45 minutes.
The intelligence picture they paint is one accumulated over the last 4 years.
Sad-looking fellow over there is.
Me? I'm alive.
On day one, we will begin working on an impenetrable, physical, tall, powerful, beautiful southern border wall.
Well, I'd love not to build the wall, but you need the wall.
Building it, not negotiable.
We have no choice. We have to close.
I think I'm gonna be sick.
Don't worry, Trump care is gonna be great.
It's not a fence, it's a wall.
Yeah, there could be some fencing.
Mexico will not pay for the wall. Could we have your comment? They said yes.
The wall just got 10 feet taller.
10 feet taller. 10 feet higher. Higher. Let's say the wall costs $4 billion. $5 billion.
The wall is going to cost $6 or $7 billion. The wall's probably $8 billion. It's going to cost $10 billion.
The wall's going to cost $10 billion. Maybe 12.
We're putting down $25 billion for the wall.
And who's going to pay for the wall?
A lie.
That's horrible.
I know, but real facts are so depressing. I'm just a lie. Yes, I'm only a lie. I'm so untrue, I just want to cry. Well, I just popped out of the president's brain, and the very idea of me's completely insane. But someday I'm gonna be a fact. Oh yes, I'll try and I'll try. But today I am still just a lie.
But if you're a lie, why do you want people to think you're true?
You see, kid, I make the president feel good about himself. And sometimes I can even help him sell his policies to voters.
Wow, you sound really important.
Last night in Brussels, I set out Britain's new settlement with the European Union. This morning, I've just chaired a meeting of the Cabinet in which I updated them on the special status we have secured for Britain. And the Cabinet agreed that the government's position will be to recommend that Britain remains in a reformed European Union.
Well, thank you very much, Andrew. Good morning, everybody. What a pleasure, what a privilege to be here at this incredible firm, Europa, which, of course, is the single market. This is it. This is the absolute quintessential British success in Europe and will remain so in or out of the European Union. By the way, I apologise for being late. We need to take back control of South East trains. Let's talk about the 350 million, which is so beloved of everybody who interrogates me. Okay, people say to me this is a mythical sum. Actually, it's not a mythical sum.
£350 million a week we send to the EU, which we will no longer send to the EU. Can you guarantee that's going to go to the NHS?
No, I can't, and I would never have made that claim.
I've consistently said that we want to build a deep and special partnership with the EU as we implement the decision of the British people to leave at the end of March 2019. Doing so will provide clarity and certainty for businesses in the UK and the EU, and crucially for all our citizens. The deal we've struck will guarantee the rights of more than 3 million EU citizens living in the UK and of 1 million UK citizens living in the EU. I was clear in Florence that we're a country that honours our obligations. After some tough conversations, we've now agreed a settlement that is fair to the British taxpayer. It means that in future we will be able to invest more in our priorities at home, such as housing, schools and the NHS.
Are you a big fat liar?
Well, listen, I can't say much about my weight at the moment, Piers, but let's be clear. I think that what the Remain campaign were talking about was the huge sums of money that we send to Brussels, and of that there can be no doubt whatever. That sum of money, as we've exhaustively covered in this campaign so far, is entirely accurate. It is the sum that we cannot control, that Brussels preempts. Yes, it is true that some of it includes the rebate, but you cannot rely on the rebate. That is dwindling, has dwindled, and may not last beyond 2020. And it is entirely at the discretion of the rest of the EU.
But the British people have made a very clear decision to take a different path. And as such, I think the country requires fresh leadership to take it in this direction. I will do everything I can as Prime Minister to steady the ship over the coming weeks and months. But I do not think it would be right for me to try to be the captain that steers our country to its next destination.
From marketing ploys to subliminal messages, companies have always tried to tap into the psychology of their consumers in order to sell more of their products. Let's be honest, it's a rare sight seeing a burger that looks exactly like it looks on the advertisement. Strict visual criteria for vegetables and fruit. A number of Canadian studies discovered that a huge proportion of perfectly edible and fresh produce was actually discarded at every step. from the harvesting to the final selection on grocery store stalls, simply because they didn't look a certain way. Number 8. Misleading commercials. Over the top of it, in post-production, eliminating the need to use real cars at all. You can understand why they do it, because it saves money getting the real thing, and it also means they can finish the commercial and start promoting the car prior to its full completion date. Still, there's no doubt, it's still a rather deceiving strategy. Number 7. Anthropomorphism. It may just be a human quirk, but we love giving human qualities to animals and inanimate things. We give pet names to our cars, we scream at our computers when they're not working, and we assume the weather is out to get us. In other words, when we attribute characteristics to an object, we immediately begin to empathize with it. Marketers have long known how to use this cognitive bias to their favor. Simply put, the anthropomorphization of brands is a sneaky way to make us trust the brand and make an emotional connection with it. One study by Elon University even confirmed that anthropomorphic spokes characters have an undeniably positive effect on brand personalities. And while this may seem like an obvious way to appeal to customers, what people don't realize is just how rampant and subtle anthropomorphism can be. From animal mascots like Joe Camel, Tony the Tiger, and Spuds MacKenzie, to the personified orange wedge from Shock Top Beers, and the talking lamp in Pixar's logo. Number 6. Anti-advertising slogan of their customers, but it still served to sell their brand. Another example is Under Armour, a sportswear company, which has continually showcased itself as an underdog to bigger conglomerates like Nike. They took a similar anti-advertising approach by advocating that instead of just doing it, that real success requires hard work and perseverance. The honesty of their message seems to have paid off, as in recent years they've been challenging both Nike and Lululemon for top dog position as a sportswear company. Number 5. Decoy pricing. The decoy effect, or the asymmetric dominance effect, refers to a tendency in humans to change their preferences based on whether or not a decoy product is introduced that is inferior to other choices. The best example of this is when a consumer is confronted with two computers with similar qualities and prices. They may have a hard time choosing between them. However, when a third computer is advertised that is both pricier and has a smaller hard drive than either, it automatically makes the first two choices seem all that more attractive and encourages more reckless.
The cities we populate and the lives that we live. It is the world that our children will inherit.
If you had tickets for the Oprah Winfrey Show for any day of this year, this was the day you wanted. This was her final annual Favorite Things. Audience members will need a wheelbarrow to take home all their stuff.
How can you look at this and not immediately know what at the core is so rotten about this country? This is our real religion. Greed. People pretend to go nuts for Jesus, but I don't know. You don't either.
Why do you buy the things you do? Why do you buy the candy bar and the bright yellow wrapping? Why do you buy the jewelry and the flashy packaging? And why do you still buy McDonald's even though you know it's absolutely shit for you? Guess what? It really isn't your fault. The answer though is surprisingly simple. You buy them because they make you feel good. And that's exactly the way the product was designed. What do you see on billboard? You go on the internet and you see an ad. Advertising has crept into every crevice of our lives and is due to one reason: it works. They're based on fostering a desire to purchase goods and services in ever greater amounts. It's a psychology that we base our whole lives upon. Under consumerism, we believe that
For much of human history, the biggest problem was scarcity, experienced as poverty, hunger, deprivation. So this urge to... As civilization advanced, life got easier. Material goods became more available. But they were never what we consider plentiful, except for a tiny minority. for thousands of years there were only a comparatively few conspicuous consumers, the rich and the powerful. For them, the trappings of luxury always had a secondary purpose. They were designed to distinguish the rulers from the ruled, to remind the powerless where the power really lay. Adam Smith provided the model for an economic system which would take over the world. Capitalism was born. And from now on, consumerism would be at the heart of it. Big business and its advertising agencies turned to the science of psychology.
Bernays realized that he could use products to appeal not to a person's rationality, but to their emotions. Just by making a person feel special, powerful, sexy, independent, proud, happy, or excited, he could manipulate the general masses.
We're likely to have grown up thinking that the mainstream media was our friend, the common sense, natural judge of everything that matters and is important, and a reliable guide to existence. But we might also be realizing that isn't quite true. Let's take a moment to remind ourselves of some of the things that might be slightly or even very wrong with mainstream media.
Believe the news media, you should fear China and Russia. This week, let's talk about why.
If they wanted to, China could wipe out the U.S. in probably 3 minutes.
But anyone with an atomic bomb could.
True.
So why China in particular?
Chinese people are very dangerous.
Why? What has made you think that? Have you ever been personally threatened by a Chinese person?
No.
So why do you feel that way?
They know Kung Fu.
I love your dog. It's so cute. Is it boy or girl?
Fluffy is a bitch.
What a delicious bitch.
What?
Oh, I can just eat her up. Right.
I think it's best if I come back tomorrow and meet the relevant parties.
Bye. Bye.
Yeah, I'll be finished within 5 minutes. Can you wait a little bit?
Excuse me.
Simon Mosin reporting. What I want to show you now, viewers, is a wonderful scene. These are Muslim mums. There's a little fella here who's brought a little sign, and this is in commemoration. You can see his little sign to the heroes of London. There are flowers on the street here. Ladies with hashtag turn to love, hashtag ISIS equals enemies of Islam, hashtag ISIS will lose, hashtag turn to London. And I think a poignant scene, and a scene we should sit on just for you viewers to understand exactly how people feel here on the streets of London, so close to what were such brutal attacks.
But a big portion of the media, the dishonesty, the total deceit and deception.